Hi, and welcome to another episode of Nursing Your Way to Wealth, where a mental health nurse and an accountant talk about wealth creation, personal development, and financial independence in the UK to help you live the life you deserve.
Hi everyone and welcome back. And hey Alex. So today's episode is number 86, which these numbers are getting bigger and bigger, which is great. So a few things that we're going to cover today, which hopefully you'll find interesting. So we got a bit of a small book review. So we got one of our listeners reached out with that's pretty cool and they've written a book. So Alex is just going to talk quickly about that. Going to talk a bit on so Alex has got so with his new job came a nice pay rise. So we're going to touch upon the pay rise allocation. So of where that extra money is going. The main body is really on then talking about spending values. So what we mean by that is kind of understanding what is meaningful for you, what isn't, how you spend money. We're going to talk about some examples from both our lives of to add a bit of color to that. Kind of in the theme of, we're coming into 2026, people have got a lot of goals around finances, and here's a kind of one that can be implemented day to day to to help you stay on top of your finances and stay on course. And then we will also be talking about final reasonable or ridiculous, which Alex has got. Should be quite an interesting one towards the end of the episode. I think that was everything. Quite a full, jam-packed episode today. Lots of things to talk about. But hi, Alex.
Hello. Yeah, it's quite a lot, isn't it? I was like we were chatting beforehand. I was just adding stuff, and we ended up with quite a lot. So we'll try and get it done as succinctly and as helpfully as possible for you. But first up, I had an email to our kind of joint Nursing Your Way to Wealth inbox a couple of days ago from a man called Bo Jacob. He's written a book called Unstuck Economics. It's come out January 2026, and he said, "Hi guys, I've listened before. I've written this book. What do you think? Do you want me to send you a copy? I'd be interested if you just read the summary, the short summary that I've sent you. And if you want to go further with that, then they're happy to do that." So I read it on my lunch break today, and I only got I think it's probably half the first chapter in terms of the summary that he sent. From what I've read, it's a lot about it. I think it's written for people who haven't really picked up a finance book. Like a lot of finance books are picked up as if you know nothing and they explain things in simple concepts, which is not wrong. But Alex and I have read a lot of finance books, so it kind of goes over a similar ground. The couple of points that I've pulled out and I've noted down is he talks a lot about swapping narratives. So when we think about our goal setting, people often say, I can't do this because of X and Y. So he would rather, and he suggests you swap the term I can't or cannot for how can I. So instead of I can't afford this, it's how can I afford this? What do I need to do to change my position so at some point I can afford it? He also talks about using time wisely, thinking really hard and being a little bit critical of your decisions around the time that you spend. So I know a lot of people will say, I've got no time for anything, but have you seen this 14-part Netflix show? And every episode's 40 something minutes each. So it's how you use that time. And he also talks about really, if you don't do something about your current situation, the best scenario is you're going to just stay where you are. And actually, would you regret not making these changes in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time, something like that? So I've reached back to him, just thanked him for the email and the summary, and I've said, would you mind posting us 2 copies of your book? So we'll see, Alex, what he says back to that, and I might post you a copy if they arrive at my door.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds. I mean, it's great to hear from listeners and especially people that are fellow authors as well. So that's really cool. The book sounds interesting, and I've not unfortunately had time to read that yet, but I'd be keen to get my have a look at it when it arrives. But I think that kind of reframing things is really powerful, changing your mindset, and I think that is certainly with time, people probably have a bit more than they think they have, but it can, I'd be keen to read and see a bit more detail. But yeah, it sounds like it's a useful book.
I hope so. And I think it's about the energy level you have as well. Like you might have the time, but have you got the mental energy, the acuity to actually get some of that stuff done? I mean, do you remember the time I got a 27-page pension kind of document thing through the post, and they're like, just read all of this and make these decisions on it. I mean, I know about pensions, but if someone doesn't and they're like, here's half a book on something I need you to make a decision on by the end of your first month's employment, you're going to be like, I'll file that for later, thanks. I've just worked a 8, 10, 12-hour day. The other thing I think as well about the book, certainly Unstuck Economics, is it's Bo's an American fellow, lives in Texas according to his Amazon bio, but it's like the principles are overarching. Like, it doesn't really matter where you live. The principles around money can be very similar depending on your specific circumstance, but the general advice of spend less than you make, invest wisely, do some planning for the future, don't opt out your pension if you have one available. They're pretty much like centric. You can put yourself in any country reasonably, and that kind of stuff will make sense. So I think that's probably enough on the book. We'll update again if we get another copy or some copies of it. And once I've read them, I'm happily again post them out to some of our listeners so they can benefit from that as well. But Alex, I'd like to, if we could, just talk to you about how I've allocated my new pay rise from my job, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably should have asked you this before I did it, but I've actually done these things already. So I was just wondering whether I've kind of whether what I've done makes sense, and whether you, with your accountancy head on, would do anything different. So I started the job in December the 8th. So I've had two paychecks now. I get paid at the end of the month, 28th. So they've kind of sorted my tax codes, etc., and stuff. So what I've actually ended up with is £500 or £600 extra every month, depending on whether I've taken any unpaid leave or not, which I have last month. So when I sat down and I looked at it, I was like, actually, let's divide this into percentages. And what I've done is I've taken 25% of the rise and I've put that into like a short-term cash savings thing for a thing my wife and I want to do in the next couple of years, like 3 years maybe. I've put 25% and I've added that to my investments like every month. I've done the other 25% and I've allowed that for life. So just additional spending to make mine and my wife's life easier. And I'm unsure on what to do with the remaining 25%. And I know that that's a hugely beneficial position to be in. But I'm not 100% sure on it. What I have done in advance before you ask me is I have increased my pension contribution from 5% to 11. My employer puts in 3, so I have 14 total. And my reasoning for that is to put me just below the 40% tax bracket. So that's already been done. So I have a quarter of it left, technically unaccounted for.
Perfect. Well, that sounds like, I was going to say about around the pension point first. So thanks for clarifying that. So that makes complete sense. I think the cash bit, if you've got something that you're saving up for, and that's going to get you there at that time, I think that's completely sensible. One thing to just keep an eye on with cash savings is if, as they start to build up, potentially might start having to pay tax on your interest that you earn. Interest rates are starting to go down a bit now, so it's probably less pertinent. But I think you start paying you'll still be in the basic rate taxpayer because of your pension contributions. But so you got £1,000 of income from interest that you're able to earn before it's taxable. But just keep an eye on that cash balance and you can shove it into like premium bonds or something so it's still accessible but tax free. I think for the lifestyle thing, I think that's completely reasonable. Like, enjoy some of your, one of the benefits of doing what you have been doing is it allows you to, afford a nicer life. That is a lifestyle inflation in action. But I think it's completely warranted given that the other decisions that you've made and that the position that you're in generally financially. And then the other quarter to an ISA. If I was in your shoes, I'd just put the other 25% to the ISA. If you're covered with your cash and you've got an emergency fund already there, you're enjoying your 25% extra. There's no harm in just adding that to investments. That'd be my only thing. Or split it again across your cash and your ISA, depending on how much you need for the outlay in kind of 2-3 years time. But I think it's very sensible, and I think it's that because there's often a temptation to just go out and start balling and spend all of it on your life. But you've made some very sensible choices, and I would also say like none of this is set in stone
Yeah.
as well. Like if you decide to change your mind, you can just stop rooting. You can pull down your investments every month, or you can boost your cash for 1 month, or take none of it and spend it all. But I think the guardrails that you've put in there, and it's a good idea to use percentages as well. I like that. So but I think that's infinitely sensible an idea. For the remainder, if it was me, I'd just shove it in my investments.
I think it's important to do something with it. If it gets left, for me, if I don't give it a job or something,
Mm-hmm.
I will end up like frivolously it will disappear.
Yeah.
And it will be like it will go somewhere, and I'll find a new coffee gadget or something that I definitely need, even though I didn't know it existed last week. And I'll be like, I 100% need this. Oh, look, I've got some extra money. I'll buy it. With 1 day shipping, and then I'll wonder how I've lived without it. But I thought the percentages would appeal to your brain, to be honest with you.
I think it's a good discipline for anything, actually. And it's because then you're not putting like a pound value on something. And it's like, well, X% is going into X% of my pay rise goes into this, X% goes into that. It's very, because then also if you then get another pay rise, and say you go from 500 a month to 700 a month, for example, you can still apply the same percentages and work out your pound values that you then physically transfer from that.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, and actually is very accurate, because when I'm done with my additional like prescribing qualification, I will get another bump at that point, and that should be April, May kind of time. So if I work out percentages, it's easier, I think, to do than having to redo a whole load more maths. And interesting, you mentioned about the interest on cash. I will keep an eye on that, because when I get the next bump, which is kind of contractually agreed in April or May, whenever my extra PIN kind of thing qualification comes through, that's going to put me beyond like the sacrifice into your pension to keep myself out of the 40% band. So redirecting some of that so I don't pay any tax, because the interest on cash becomes like 500, doesn't it? Not 1,000.
It's 500. Yeah, that's right. So it halves. So it then becomes, if you've got, for simplicity, 5% interest rate, and you've got £10,000 in there, that's at 5. That's your interest that you're allowed to earn before you then need to start paying tax. And then you basically earn 60 pence on the pound for every pound of interest over and above that.
Yeah.
So it's quite a hit.
Yeah.
But there are things that you can do to try and mitigate that. But it's just, there's like premium bonds that's why premium bonds start to become quite common, where you've kind of maxed out your cash limits. Because you win prizes, you don't get interest, they're tax free.
Yeah. So I think when I get to that point, April, May time, or whenever the thing changes for me, I'll have a look and I'll do the maths and I'll work out, am I going to be over or under that?
Yeah.
I could also use my wife's allowance in terms of interest on cash as well, if needed.
Really
so we can both be like just below that threshold, and then wang whatever else we have in premium bonds for sure.
And it might not be a problem for this year. It might be a year, 2 years down the line, but it's just something to be aware of, that it starts to fall into it.
Yeah, but worth knowing. Like, you don't want a tax bill for something you could actually just change an account that it's sitting in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That could buy you a lunch, couldn't it, somewhere?
Certainly could.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And it's always good to check something like this through with somebody. So if you are thinking about something like this and you want an unbiased opinion from us, which absolutely is not financial advice, it's just our thoughts on perhaps something you could or could not do. But ultimately, the decision is yours. You can ping us an email, and we'll have a look at that. So the other thing we're going to mention is kind of conscious spending and spending values. So this will tie in nicely to the reasonable or ridiculous that, Alex, I'm going to bring you a bit later. But sometimes I'm just going to riddle this at you. Like sometimes I find it really easy to spend a lot of money on something, and that's absolutely fine. And my brain's like, okay, we have this, we want to do that, we can do that, no problem, spend it, goodbye, finished. But then other things with amounts that are way, way smaller, my brain will be like, don't do that, doesn't seem worth it. Or I'll spend absolutely ages doing research on a particular thing and I'll get stuck in the weeds and I end up like not doing it at all and I end up just not having the thing. But I wonder whether, like, do you experience the same thing? Like, I'll happily spend on stuff that I like and I value a lot, kind of traveling being one, coffee being another. But I'll find it really difficult to spend on, for example, clothes. For me, if there's a choice between, say, 90 quid on coffee gear and 90 quid on a pair of trousers or a shirt, like really hard for me to do the clothing thing, but really simple to do the coffee thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm similar, not with the coffee bit, but like certainly with some things, I'm much easier. I still like getting value for money on things, don't get me wrong, but I think that's kind
Mm.
of I certainly find my and I think that's what I always come down to. It's actually what am I getting value for it? So like traveling, I like to go and see different places. I've no qualms in booking flights and hotels and going all around the world. I enjoy that. I'm not frivolous at all. Me and my wife are not frivolous with it. We're sensible in its research, but if a certain trip is a few £1,000s, that's fine. I don't even bat an eye, but because I know that what I'm going to get from it is going to last me, like the experiences and the things I will get are going to last me a long time. I'm on some certain things like buying coffee out. I would never buy coffee out. I'm very well saying that. I actually, me and my wife went out for a coffee on Saturday as like a real treat, but it's probably the first coffee I've drank out in a cafe in about 6 months. Um, but because of that, it was quite special actually. But and like buying my food, like my lunch at work, I will always just take my own lunch. So there's things which is, and it's like I could spend a fiver on lunch, that's no problem, like in the grand schemes of it. But I find that really difficult
Mm.
sometimes to do. And even if I'm, say, if my lunch that I take with me, it doesn't fill me up and I need to go and buy something else, I do struggle to find some things. It's like, oh, this, I don't know, nut bar or whatever is like £2. I'm not spending £2 on that. That's ridiculous. And it's like I would happily spend. I was like, on my flight to like Malaysia is like 800 quid. So oh yeah, that's fine. That sounds like a good price. We'll do that. But I think for me, I don't know what that specific value is, but I definitely experience it. Similar with things for the house as well. I'm less. Um, I'm more than happy to spend on things on the house, like doing house improvements and things. Um,
Yeah, but buying a 2 quid bar of something at lunch is difficult.
I will agonize over it. Honestly, I will agonize over that.
Yeah, but I mean, would you rather then have like the £800 flight to Malaysia is going to get you a lovely holiday with your wife, and it's the expectation of having a great time? Is that worth 400 nut bars? Don't know. Like, obviously, you're not
Yeah.
going to buy 400 nut bars and just keep them in your house, or you might, but
Yeah.
who knows? But
Well, I say it's one a day, isn't it? Pretty much.
yeah, yeah, for well, a year and a bit, I suppose. Like January to February, a year and a month, we'll have one a day.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's our what we're comparing it to. So, for example, your flight to Malaysia is £800. You're going thousands of miles. Like to do that by train or boat will probably take you days and days and days, and that'll be a real aggro. If you're doing it flying, you can get it done in way less time, and a lot of that hassle is taken out of it for you. But if you compare it with that, it makes sense. If you're comparing like a £2 nut bar with something you can make at home for like 50p or something, it seems really expensive. Whereas if you're used to spending 10 quid a day on lunch,
Yeah.
£2 is like a fifth of that, and you're like, actually, probably that's fine. But because you're not used to spending that money every day, it seems more pertinent and more powerful. It's got more of a like it takes, I think, more of your mental energy to make that decision.
I think that's true actually. Because essentially my reference point for my lunch is like zero because I make it myself. So I
Mm,
basically don't buy
yeah.
anything. And then when you are, it's like, oh, do I really need it? Am I really that hungry? Can I not try and find something else? Or I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm going through this thought process to buy me a snack. but it does happen, and I feel it. And it also reminds me of, I think it's Ramit Sethi in his book I Will Teach You to Be Rich, talks about how basically find the thing that you really like, and obviously go through your spending and make sure you know where things are coming in and going out. And as long as you've like done your investments and your pension and everything, is like for the amount of money that you got left, like over index on the things that give you loads of value and that you really like, and cut back. Is it mercilessly on the things that don't add any value? And I think there's something in that regard with me as well. And it's like I really I know what I like doing. Because I also find it hard to pay. I like going out for like meals as well. Sometimes I find it hard to go out to restaurants, especially because I'm quite a good cook. I enjoy doing it, but it's like very fussy with where we go.
Yeah, again, it's value, isn't it? If you can make like some really good, delicious food at home, and you compare that with restaurant food, if it's on par, actually, £100 for dinner for two of you seems really expensive. When you probably can make something of equal flavour for, I don't know, not a 50th of that. I don't know, 80% less, something like that. But
Yeah,
I think I get similar things in terms of value. Like the other day, my wife and I went to visit her mum, so my mother-in-law, and we went out for like Sunday lunch. And there was the two of us, my mother-in-law, father-in-law, their other son-in-law, who married to my wife's sister, who unfortunately was at work, and his young baby. And we, like my wife and I, we paid for lunch for everyone. Like, so absolutely no problem with that. Like happily drop like, I don't know, 80 quid or so on that. I can't remember the exact figure. But then if I were to say buy myself something else for £80, I'd be like, no way. Like you definitely can't have £80 pair of trousers, but we'll happily do that for the experience of buying everyone lunch.
yeah. And I guess it's the value of being there with family and the memory that you have from that, and doing something nice for others,
Yeah.
which is probably then ranks higher than the having a pair of jeans or whatever.
I think as well, like my metrics for clothing, like I buy a lot of my clothes secondhand because I feel like a lot of it's really overpriced now in terms of like the materials that are used and how they're made. So I'm not a fan of fast fashion. So I buy clothing now based on like materials that it's made from, if it's like good quality material. So I try and avoid like polyester, nylon, acrylics, and stuff like plastic, basically. And I try and get natural fibers if it's like cotton or wool or what's the other one made from trees, viscose or something like that. But it's that reference for me is I can get a lot of clothes secondhand from either a charity shop or somewhere for like £50. I can get 8 things, whereas sometimes you can spend 50 quid and get one item or half an item if it's really expensive. So, and I've got zero problem wearing secondhand clothes. I just wash them and away we go.
Yeah, that's interesting. I tend not to buy secondhand if I'm honest, but I buy clothes which are, so I tend to just go to the super, like the M&S, to get my clothes because I'm quite simple in my style, in that I literally wear chinos and shirts and shorts in the summer, jumpers in the winter over the top of them. And it's like they're all fairly plain, safe colours, timeless, I like to call it.
Yeah.
But and then but yeah, they're similar. They're all cotton, good material, like well priced, and they last for a long time. And I'd rather have those. And they don't have a little logo on them to show and signal to people how much I might have paid for them.
Yeah.
It's just like a plain blue Oxford shirt. So it's like
Yeah.
quite, like, for me it's quite simple, and because for me it's then it's quite understated. It's comfy. I like it. I feel good in it. And I know I've not spent, a shirt from there is like, I don't know, 28 quid or something, or 30 quid, or it's a Ralph Lauren one is 130 or 140
Yeah.
for the same look of an Oxford shirt. So I'm quite happy with that because it doesn't offer me any more, and I'm not that interested in signaling to people that I can afford a Ralph Lauren shirt.
No.
I'm sure that they're very nice, but yeah, that for me right now is not important.
No, and I get it. And you could afford either shirt, but the
Oh,
point is
100%. Yeah,
the
yeah,
choice, isn't it? It's
yeah.
you could have what, 4 shirts, maybe 5 M&S shirts for one Ralph Lauren shirt or something. But
Yeah, it's probably like 4-1, I would say. Yeah, a reasonable ratio.
yeah, so is it 4 times as good?
It's exactly, yeah.
Probably not, I would say.
And that's exactly the maths I do to myself. It's like, would I rather have 4 shirts or 1?
Yeah.
And for basically the same quality, and it's the same 100% cotton.
Yeah. I mean, I went on just a side thing about cotton. I went on a bit of a rabbit hole last week learning about kind of materials and composition, etc. So there's a thing called, like Egyptian cotton,
Yes.
like labeled as like fancy cotton, etc. There are 2 other versions apparently that are more fancy. There's Long Island cotton that comes from some specific island where the textile, like the thread, is like 3-4 times as long as usual, so it's softer or something. I don't know. And there's another type called Giza cotton, and it's Giza, and apparently this is the fanciest cotton in the whole world. So, and what that means is people charge an absolute fortune for it because there's not a lot of it around. And eventually, it led me to a website called 100 Hands, and they call it that because they're like a tailoring firm or something. And it takes 100 hands, like 50 separate people, to make one shirt. So, and it's made of 100% Giza cotton, as just talked about, and it's basically made to your kind of specific measurements, not truly made to measure, but apparently it takes 16 hours of handwork to do, and one of these blue Oxford shirts is £326.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
But is it that good to warrant that much, or is it like £100 worth of cotton and labour and something, and loads extra for like the exclusivity of having it?
I think it's probably you buy the exclusivity rather than it is the product itself like better, or like 10 times better than a high street shirt. I mean you're in such like niche, like end tail like areas when you're looking at these, because it's like people who must be in the 1% and have got nothing else to spend their money on, and that's like your client base. And also I imagine you're going to have to explain to people that this shirt was made by X amount of other people and it's the best cotton ever, and it actually cost me 320 quid.
Yeah, like, do you think, for example, like if we got 10 versions of you, 9 of you are wearing like an M&S blue Oxford shirt, and 1 of you is wearing this fancy shirt from 100 Hands or whatever company you like, do you think you could tell the difference just by looking at them?
I think you probably could, but I don't know if you'd be able to, whether it would be like 10 times as much. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, does it last 10 times as long? Is it 10 times as soft? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I might see if I can get one second hand. And
yeah, I was going to say we could buy one and give it a try
and test it. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I just wondered, like, because some people will be like, yeah, it's nothing, fine, I'll buy that, no problem. But that's like, I think you're right, it appeals to the 1%, the 1% of the 1% probably, who will happily kind of wear something like that. It's like the difference between a million and a billion, isn't it? Humongous in terms of levels of wealth, but it's battered around the media like it's nothing.
Yeah.
When actually the difference is ridiculous in terms of the amount of numbers between 1 million and 1 billion. So is there anything, I know obviously you talked about values and spending, like it made me think when you said like you're spending on stuff that matters to you. I'll spend money on stuff if I know it's going to last a long time. So when we had some work done to our house, like roof and things, he was like, I can do this for this much, or I can do it properly for this much. And I was like, just do it properly so I never have to call you again, is my ideal.
Yeah.
In the nicest way possible. Like, I just want you to fix it permanently, and imagine I'm going to live here for 100 years. And sometimes I'll even do that to the point where it doesn't necessarily make sense. It's like putting let's say I've sold cars before and they've needed new tires, so I put like good tires on it and then sold it, because I'm not one to put like really cheap 30 quid tires on a car and then sell it and then it becomes someone else's problem. I'd rather, and I think that's just for my soul, really. I feel better about that choice.
Yeah, I'm with you on. We've got a saying which is almost like just touch it once, and so I'd rather just like
Mm-hmm.
do it once, spend the money on the thing that you want, because I think sometimes you can buy a compromise, and often you don't. If you buy something, it's like, oh well, this is going to last me, but the thing I really want is X.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it's better to save up for a little bit longer to get the one that you actually want, and then that kind of noise goes away. Like for example, it could be a car, and it's like I don't know, there might be a car that you want. The car that you want is plucking numbers out of the air, 20,000 quid, but then you could get one for 10,
Mm.
but then but you've currently got one that's perfectly fine. I would much rather, well, I'm going to save up for another 2 years and get just the one I want and know that I'm going to drive that and not have any niggle of, well, I should have, I know, well, in a few years I'm going to upgrade again. It's almost just buy the thing that you want and then you stop worrying.
Mm.
And if you buy really good quality, certainly for a lot of things, they generally do last longer. And yeah, I'll tend to like to have fewer things but better quality so they last for a long time, rather than the constantly having a problem with stuff. I'm with you on that, but like buy quality, and I just because then I don't want the stress, I don't want the headache of having to do anything again. It's like just buy the thing that's going to work, and it's ticked. Then I've ticked it off. It's like it's done, and the noise is out of my head.
Yeah, and you don't have to think about it. You haven't got to think about it for 10 years
Exactly.
or hopefully longer, if something like that. Yeah, no, I'll do the exact same thing. I'll do as much as I can and spend what I need to spend to not have to repeatedly do stuff. I'd rather buy, for example, like I bought some really good quality boots about, what am I now, 37? Bought them in my early 20s, 22, 23, something like that. So like 14 years ago, and they were expensive at the time, but I've had them resold once, and I clean them regularly, protect them, etc. And they just keep going and going.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than buy a new pair of boots every 2 years and have to choose another one and like use the time that it would take me. Because the way I look at things is that would take me a long time to choose a pair of boots, and it did take me a long time to pick them. So buy it, buy once, cry once type thing, and then not have to think about it. Get rid of the noise and the clutter in your mind.
Yeah, because that's for me is actually more valuable. It's quite valuable because then you're not. It's like, those boots were a great example. I'm similar. The shoes thing came to my mind as well. Actually, I've got some good shoes which I've had for years and years and years, and they just last, and I feel good in them.
Yeah.
And now I've not been in the market for a pair of Chelsea boots in 10 years, and I quite like that.
Yeah, that's good.
And nor will I expect to be in the next 10 years because they work really well. And having that clarity is, for me, is really important.
I think you're right. I think your shoes are Churches, right?
I've got a pair of Churches and a pair of Russell and Bromleys. They're very good.
Yeah, so I've got 2 pairs of Loake shoes, one like brogue type thing, and one loafer, and I kind of deliberately do that because I can look after them a long time, change the sole, etc. And I bought those both new. The other one I bought is a pair of loafers from Russell and Bromley, and I just got the sizing totally wrong. So I ordered my usual size, but these shoes arrived and they're massive. So that's my own fault for not realizing what size I need. But when you buy them secondhand, you can't send them back because I've goofed the size, basically. And also when you bought your Churches before, they were kind of their own company. Like pretty recently, they got bought by Prada, I think, and a load of people have said they're not as good.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So I think you've probably got the right thing, a good pair made in Northampton years and years ago.
Yeah.
But now I think bought by Prada, semi-recently. I don't know. Oh, apparently they bought it in 1999
Oh, well.
for $170 million.
Oh,
That's a lot.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, well, I've definitely got. I bought mine before that. Before I bought them after I was 10.
yeah, so you got a solid pair. No, it's just interesting, isn't it? Where does it come from? Where's it been made from, etc. I bought some shoes before that were like when I was like late teens, 19, early 20s, and they look nice, but actually they fall apart because they're not constructed with longevity in mind, and I think it costs you more to repeat buy them.
Agree. Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully these shoes might outlast me. Maybe. Who knows? Probably that's a stretch. Actually, I've got a lot of life to lead. Okay. Any other thoughts on spending values or anything like that, or shall I pitch my reasonable or ridiculous idea to you?
Yeah, I think if we could move on, but I think before we do, just to say if there's any listeners out there that have got examples of this or think differently or have gone through similar experience, it'd be great to hear from you. So yeah, drop us a note because it's an interesting understanding yourself and what matters to you is I think is really key in personal finance.
It is, yeah, and that's a good point. Some people might think we're absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Or other people will be like, yeah, I agree with you. And it's just or anything in between, actually. Yeah. Yeah, talking of going a bit nuts, my...
Reasonable or ridiculous?
Moving on,
moving on swiftly this week is... so my wife and I, we always try and do some kind of holiday slightly after winter. A, because it's less busy, like wherever we go. And B, just because we've survived the January kind of hell, basically, moving forward. I think January always feels long because you get paid a bit earlier in December before Christmas, if you're fortunate. And then January just seems like extra long. There's too many weeks and not enough money. But so this time we planned a 4-day trip to Wales, like a Thursday to Sunday type thing. And the idea was we'd go and visit some like historic castles in northern Wales. We'd drop in and see a friend of ours, Paul, and kind of come back and see another friend of ours on the way home. So the other day, my wife was sitting on the couch and she was like, how would you feel instead of going to Wales, and we'll see these other people in the Easter holiday instead. So instead of going to Wales, how do you feel about going to Spain? And I was like, all right, talk to me about how you've reached going from mountainous Wales to Spain. And she said, I looked at the map of how far it will be. It will take 5.5 hours to drive to Wales from our house in Kent. But within that time frame, we can land in Seville. So I was like, okay, we'll do that. So we've gone from a couple of nights in Wales and a fairly hefty amount of miles to booking a hotel and flights and going to Spain for 4 days. And we booked like a river tour thing, some restaurants and stuff. Obviously, it's going to cost a bit more, but in terms of time, like door to door, distance to distance, do you think it's reasonable to fly to southern Spain compared with driving to Wales?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's funny how you ended up at completely different place. But I think I see the logic definitely. I think it's reasonable, but I think it depends. Like personally, for me, I now don't like doing like short haul quick breaks because I just find after COVID, airports just don't seem to function anymore. And people start to annoy me. So I'm one thing I would suggest is take backpacks. Don't take a pack-on case because you can end up wasting a lot of time waiting for your luggage at the other end. Is my tip.
Yeah. So we always do that now. We've always travelled. We had one holiday somewhere, and it was like we spent 3 extra hours queuing for stuff for like a carousel of your bags. So now we take one rucksack each, and whatever we don't fit in there doesn't come with us.
Yeah, perfect.
So we've always done it, and it's saved us hours and hours.
I think as long as you're prepared, then I think that's perfectly reasonable. And probably the weather's going to be a little bit nicer. I've never been to Seville, but I've heard some really nice things about it from people that have been.
Yeah, no, I've never been. And the airport's very close to everything. It's kind of in the town or city, and our hotel's fairly close. So it's like a half an hour walk from the airport to the hotel, and then everything around the hotel is like you can get everywhere you need to go. So we won't need a car or anything like that. You can do it on like public transport, trains, buses.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
taxi as a last
perfect.
resort. But yeah, it's not something we usually do. We're more of a not city people. We're more countryside people. So when she pitched it to me, she was like, I want to go here instead because I really want some Spanish churros. And I was like, okay, I can see the logic in that. Spain does nice coffee. Yes, it's going to cost us a bit more than Wales, but I think it's worth it. And actually, I think I'm looking forward to it more now that we're going to Spain than Wales. And I think it's weather related.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good acid test, I guess, isn't it? If what you're excited about, and if that's getting you more fired up than Wales, then I think that's probably the right decision.
Yeah, I think that the 5.5 hour drive with no traffic each way, it does factor.
Yes, oh, definitely, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's quite a laborious drive as well, isn't it? Because you're like right around the M25 up to
Through Oxford.
Because Wales actually for us is not too bad because we're actually on the other side of it.
No, yeah, we're way in the corner.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. No, it's a problem. So last question on Reasonable or Ridiculous. The airline, they want 40 quid for us to put seats next to each other.
Oh, don't bother.
Okay.
This really annoys me with airlines.
Yeah. That was the same thing we came up with because I was like, actually, we could do it. That's fine. Or that 40 quid will turn into 45 euros or something. That'll get us a lovely dinner.
Yeah. Is that each as well?
No, it was 20 euros per person to move. So 40 quid total.
Yeah. Because are you definitely sat apart or have you not checked in? Because the only reason I ask is when we went to Malaysia, so we had to buy you don't have to buy your seat. We didn't buy our seats. The cheapest seat we could buy, bearing in mind we're in like cattle class in economy, it was £56 each per journey. So it was £112 per, like for us to go from London to Kuala Lumpur, and then the same price again to fly back. And that's to guarantee a seat, even though the seat choices were rubbish. We then didn't, and we were like, well, we'll just see where we end up. Went to check in, got sat next to one another anyway. And so actually, it was almost like a bit of a bluff. There wasn't many seats left because a lot of people had then bought their seats. But it's not like you're choosing nice seats. You're in like stuck in economy. But
no, yeah, they're all the same, aren't they?
Exactly. And so we got, for both times we didn't pay. And so that saved us, 220 quid for not buying our seats, which was probably how much we spent on most of the food whilst we were in Malaysia. Not far off it. It's a week's worth of food in Malaysia.
Wow, that's very good, isn't it? And actually, this was just one way, so it would be £80 total both ways. Yeah.
So you do it again. It really annoys me that airlines do that. They're so stingy. It really does my head in.
Well, yeah, that's how they get you, isn't it? That is how they get you. Okay, shall I do a quick summary?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, because we've gone 44 minutes. Right. So, email from a guy called Bo Jacob, wrote a book called Unstuck Economics. I've asked them for a copy or two, so let's see if that materializes. We've talked about both how Alex and I view like value around spending, around conscious spending. We've worked out that Alex liked M&S clothes and wouldn't buy a shirt for 300 and whatever pounds that I said earlier. I buy most of my stuff secondhand either way, which depends whether you're happy with that or not. And I think it really comes down to what you enjoy and what you value. And I think both would be of the persuasion of if you really love something, spend whatever you like on it, so long as you're not going into debt. And you've got these other kind of things, your emergency fund, your investments covered, then whatever you have left, go for it. Do what you want. The other thing we talked about is we both think it's reasonable. I mean, I'm obviously a bit biased for me to go to Seville instead of Wales for a holiday in February. And the last thing we learned is that neither of us are willing to pay for seats to sit next to our spouses on the aeroplane and take a backpack, because if you don't, you probably don't need an entire suitcase worth of space. If you're going, certainly we're only going for 4 days. I can fold 4 days worth of clothes in a backpack. And I would rather have an extra 2 or 3 hours like mooching around Seville than standing in a airport. Do you think I've missed anything?
No, that was very good.
I had taken some notes.
Yeah, brilliant.
As we go, but then my pen ran out halfway through, so I've just like etched it into the paper. As we were going. Okay, cool. Thank you, Alex, for your time, and appreciate actually your thoughts on my pay rise allocation of what I should do with that. Probably come back full circle to that when I'm fully bumped into the 40% bracket and the salary sacrifice doesn't work anymore, just to make sure I'm not doing anything stupid with it. But thank you for your time, and guys, thank you for listening. If you do have any thoughts, questions, queries, or anything that you find a lot of value in spending on, do send us an email. It's nursingyourwaytowealth@gmail.com. And both Alex and I will see you next week for episode 87.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks, Alex.
None of what we discuss on the show is to be considered financial or health advice, and we recommend you always do your own research or consult an independent financial advisor or a doctor when making your financial or health decisions.